Active Youth Academy is Miss Jenkins?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay,
That is
thank you.
Ms. Jenkins. And I can. Change the name.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Cleveland Avenue's Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noted. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. I am pleased to call this meeting of the Cleveland Avenue Go Team to order at 4:10 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll. The secretary will now take the roll. Ms. White?
Sorry, guys, I'm operating off
Okay.
my phone. I left my device, but I will get started with the roll. Dr. Jackson.
Present.
Dr. Rory Real.
Present.
Brilliance Darden.
Present.
Kylie Davis. Courtney Reynolds.
Present.
Jasmine Emmanuel.
Present.
And then I have Ms. Donna Jenkins.
Present.
Brittany White is myself. And I think that is all of us.
And did you say Miss, it's not Miss Childs, Miss Leslie Childs? Did you,
Ms. Chambers.
Miss Chambers, did you account for her?
Oh no, Leslie Chambers. I thought that was our parent that fell off, but it was Eccles that fell off, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then we have Leslie Childs.
Okay.
All right.
This team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Ms. White, is there a quorum present?
Yes, we have a quorum present.
Okay. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you via email. Are there any changes to the agenda? May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Donna Jenkins, second. Motion to approve.
Perfect. All in favor, please say aye. So the
Aye.
secretary can record your
Aye.
vote.
Aye.
Perfect. All opposed, please say nay. Perfect. We will review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have been provided to you via email as well. Are there any corrections? If there are no corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes?
Motion to approve the previous meeting minutes. It's Ms. Jenkins.
Okay, a second?
Second, Courtney Reynolds.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Okay. The secretary will note who made the motions and who seconded. Now on to our action items. Nope. We already did our action items. Now we will move to the discussion items on our agenda. Our first discussion item is the school strategic plan. Dr. Jackson?
Are you able to share? Or you want me to try to pull it up? Are you able to share the presentation?
Yeah, we can.
It's running a little slow.
Yeah, my internet is going slow, so it may
Mine
be
is
better if
too.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine is too, because I couldn't pull up the agenda. Let me see if I could pull this one up.
Okay.
Let me see. Are you able to see anything yet?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Let me see if I could start it from the. All right. How's it now?
Looks good.
Okay, good. All right. So, as aligned with the agenda, we will go over the strategic plan. At the top, you will see our SMART goals, which 60% of our students who are present by October FTE will meet or exceed their established RIT growth projection on the end of the year math map. That goal remains there for reading as well, with 60% of those students being projected to meet or exceed their RIT. Moving along the other side, our third SMART goal is to increase the percentage of grades 3 through 5 students scoring proficient or above in math and reading on the spring 2024 milestones. This was the previous year's SMART goals. And then also, let me see if I can move this to the side, increase the percentage of students with typical or high growth on reading and math by 3% on the milestones. So what you will also see are the APS strategic priorities and initiatives along the left side. Those are still in place currently. And then those particular APS priorities and initiatives are what we use to align our school strategic priorities with, as well as our strategies. So in alignment with the APS strategic priorities, the school strategic priorities were to implement the standards-based instruction while creating rigorous student learning experiences that are aligned to the standard and assessed with quality assessments. Again, these were the priorities created the previous year. Also to implement PBL units using the engineering, design, and inquiry-based process. In alignment with the district's focus on building a culture of student support. At Cleveland, we agreed to incorporate learning time for students to address instructional needs based on data and partner with health and wraparound support organization to provide wraparound mental health and social emotional support. So going back to the first one, I'm going to go ahead and share the school strategies on the right, which are aligned with the priorities. The strategies were to utilize the professional learning communities and the coach to support teachers with developing their capacity with implementation of high leverage instructional strategies. In addition to that, to utilize the design engineering process and 3D design process to teach students mastery of the science standards. With the culture of student support, the school strategies were to create a WIN, which is an acronym for What I Need segment for students, and refer students and families to Family Ties to provide them with support and resources to ensure the students' SEL needs are met. Moving further down with equipping and empowering leaders and staff, The school priorities were to build teacher capacity in K through 5 for reading, to deconstruct the standards, select effective instructional strategies, and measure student progress. This was also the same for math. Those strategies were to utilize the district content specialists to support instructional coaches. I think this was to be in teachers with specific strategies to increase student achievement. The last district priority was to provide learning opportunities for parents and community partners to support their children with academic and social readiness, and provide opportunities for parents to engage with school-based staff in the areas of STEM and GSE standards. The school strategies were to implement social and emotional learning strategies and activities for students and staff, and continue to engage stakeholders consistently, both in person and virtually, and to utilize the WCI team to assess and provide resources for students and families in the areas of attendance, students and family essentials, and mental health support. So taking those particular strategies aligned to our strategic plan. Previously, I believe it was an expectation for those priorities to be ranked from highest to lowest. So you will see where the highest strategy was building teachers' capacity in math and reading, all the way down to the lowest being provide opportunities for parents to engage with school-based staff in the areas of STEM and GSE standards. Using those same particular strategic goals, we were asked to identify our strategic plan priorities and align them with our SIP SMART goals and the key indicators. And this is what you'll see here. So taking those highest priorities, which was building teachers' capacity, the SMART goal aligned to that particular priority was by the end of the 25-26 school year, 21% of our 3rd through 5th grade students would score proficient or above on the ELA milestones. This would be an increase from 16%, which was that in 24 and 25. So this is our current SMART goal that we have in place for this current school year. The key indicators that we will use in order to reach these SMART goals for this particular goal is the POC agendas, lesson plans from teachers and feedback from coaches, lesson observation feedback from coaches and administration, and then, of course, student formative and summative data. In alignment with the strategic plan priority around standards-based instruction, our SMART goal is by the end of the 25-26 school year, 24% of the 3rd through 5th grade students would score proficient or above on the math milestones. And this was an increase from 19% in 24 to 25. So what you will notice is that there is a 5% increase for this year's goals from previous year's goal. The indicators, again, are very similar to that of ELA, same particular indicators. I don't think there's been any, I think this would include student work samples as an indicator, which the ELA did not. Looking at the last priority, incorporate learning time for students to address instructional needs. Our current SIP goal is by the end of the 25-26 school year, the percent of students absent less than 10% of the enrolled days will increase from 58.2% to 63.1%. The indicators used for that goal are small group lesson plans, formative and summative student data, and progress monitoring data. And this just pretty much shows you where our data was for the MAP diagnostic assessment at the end of last year. So spring 2025, this was last year's MAP data, and I'll give you a minute or two to look at that. At the top, you'll see reading. The bottom, you'll see math. Along the left side, you'll see the grade levels. The orange and yellow bubbles are the percentile ranks. And then along the right side, you'll see the number of students that actually participated in each grade level assessment. The next slide you see now are the milestones 2025 results. You'll see at the top the 3rd through 5th grade scores, with red being beginner learners, yellow developing, and the lighter green is proficient, the darker green are distinguished. So sometimes you hear people say a level 1, 2, 3, 4. These are aligned to the particular colors. At the top is ELA, and then the bottom is, well, the middle, I should say, is math. And then at the very bottom is science, in which 5th grade is the only grade level that participates in that particular assessment. So moving on to glows and grows. Some of the glows and grows that were identified, let's start with the glows. High engagement in math PLCs with teachers, deconstructing the assessment questions beforehand to align the instruction, and analyzing math assessment data to adjust the instructional calendar. There was also a school-wide RTI block created to allow for targeted support to meet the needs of our multiple subgroups of students. We actually have an attendance rate of 86.4% when this particular presentation was created. That's a percentage of students currently that have an attendance rate of 90%, compared to 58.9% this time last year. That's something to be very proud of. Also, school summary data suggests that about 14% of our 3rd through 5th grade students are demonstrating proficiency in ELA based on the milestones and MAP data. So if that trend, if we continue to do what we're doing now, that we are trending in the right direction to meet our goal of 21% by the end of the year. Some areas of growth, teachers have experienced ongoing challenges with the new ELA standards, those being the new state standards for this current year. In addition to the new state standards, the district also rolled out a new ELA district framework, as well as a new ELA resource at the same time. That presented quite a bit of challenges for grade levels, for all teachers on all grade levels, of course. Also, the GMAS 2025 ELA end of growth results show that 7% of our 3rd graders, almost 11% of the 4th graders, and 28% of 5th graders scored proficient and above in ELA. These scores were slightly lower in all grade levels when compared to that of 2024. So we took a dip in that area. The math milestones EOG results show that 11.6% of 3rd graders, 27% of 4th graders, and 18.6% of 5th graders scored proficient or above. These scores were again slightly lower in all grade levels except for 5th grade when compared to the previous grade in 2024. So again, there was a slight dip in our math EOG results as well outside of 5th grade. The 2025 science EOG results show that only 7% of our 5th grade students scored proficient. That 7% scored proficient and above. This score is significantly lower when compared to 2024. So we want to make sure we keep those particular things in mind when we're discussing opportunities for growth and if we're on the right track and doing the right work in order to meet our goals on our SIP. So looking at the data that was just presented, we are going to go through briefly a data protocol to allow the team to share in a little discussion about the data and what's being done currently and what may be ideas and things for us to think about moving forward. We do have a lot to celebrate. So what can we celebrate? What do we need to celebrate to acknowledge to keep the momentum going? Because there have been some things that have been going well thus far. So what can we celebrate?
This is Dr. Rowe. We can celebrate the attendance rate, I think.
I agree, because if our students aren't here, they can't learn. If they're not learning, they're definitely not going to meet their goals and impact student outcomes. So that we have to get them here first. So that's really good to be proud of. I will
This is,
also like,
oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Emmanuel.
yes, this is Miss Emmanuel. I do want to celebrate that we already chose to attack what was the problem by creating that RTI block, the school-wide RTI block at the end of the day to help that targeted support. So I like that.
I agree. What do you notice about the data? Outside of some of the things that were pointed out, what do you notice about the data as it relates to the milestones or even the map data?
Are we able to go back and pull up the
Sure.
data?
Let's see if I can go back. I wish I could put it side by side, but this is the map data. Remember, this is spring 2025, so this is at the close of towards the end of the year last year.
Um, and looking at reading, the proficiency increases after third grade. Well, second grade, third. Well, we're starting, of course, you would imagine coming in pre-K, so we have work to do, but it is slowly increasing, except when you jump from second to third grade. But those numbers are a little bit larger in reading, with second through fifth grade, which is to be expected if the student is, of course, coming in at a certain level.
Right, right.
Mhm.
I'll go to the milestones data.
5, 8, 28, 7, 22.
I think, from what I remember, it seems like there's a correlation between the math, the math map results on the spring and the Georgia Milestones assessment. So I think if we as teachers are using that map data to help us figure out how we could help the learners on the Georgia Milestones, I can see that there's a correlation with the proficient learners and the beginning learners.
I think that's a really good thing to point out because we know that one assessment does not clearly paint a picture of what a student can and can't do. But when you start triangulating data from other assessments, you get a little bit more idea of exactly where our students are and those subgroups of students that might need the most support. And those students can get that support during that RTI block, which is what you mentioned too, Emmanuel. So let me see what was next on there. What are your wonderings or what questions might you have?
Just as a community member, how are students, because like you said, one assessment doesn't determine exactly where students, that's not the sole source, but what are the teachers using, I guess, during daily instruction? Like, do we have assessment tools that are similar to the assessment that students are given so that students are prepared, like test taking strategies? Is that something that was implemented during the school year last year and consistently used throughout? Because some students may not test well, and so just making sure that we are prepared for that as well.
A good question, Ms. Jenkins. I can't speak to last year. Emmanuel, maybe you would be able to shed some light into if you all utilize any test taking strategies or how did you analyze assessments as it relates to preparing students for the milestones? What other assessments were used in order to gauge student growth and adjust instruction to meet those needs?
So I like Miss Jenkins' question because I'm hoping that this year we are going to be able to see a difference. But like Miss White said, there were benchmarks used, but that was used at the same rate that the what is it? I just did a blank.
That the tests were get
The
administered. Mhm.
the MAP assessments. But last year through our program, we did not have weekly assessments for reading. And so I'm hoping that this year, now that the students, like we were teaching them the strategies last year, but like you were saying, they didn't have a chance to practice and actually have that rigor that they're going to see on the Georgia milestones. And so now through the HMH program, I do like that we are giving them rigorous assessments weekly and then having a big module assessment. So at first it can seem like it's a lot, but it is preparing third, fourth, and fifth grade for what they're going to actually encounter on the milestones. And so hopefully it won't be such a big shock. That's just what I think. Ms. Reynolds or anyone else, do y'all have anything?
Yeah, I was gonna wait till you finish, Miss Emmanuel, but last year we did not have those resources last year to assess the students, so it was a bit more challenging to see what they really know, or we actually had to create. We also had platforms like Study Island that we were able to use for assessment, and we had IXL. It wasn't an assessment, but it was a great resource to use for that particular standard that we were teaching the students. So it helped a lot. This year, it may be a little better, to Miss Emmanuel's point with MAP, since we have HMH platform and a lot more assessments that's attached to each module. It may be a little bit easier to monitor a little bit more closely. But last year, it was a little bit more rigorous trying to find an assessment to connect with that standard. Especially for reading. Math was, we just had our unit assessment, but for reading, it was a little bit more stretched with the assessment that we were doing. We were doing more unit assessments than weekly assessments, but that was pretty much how it ran last year.
Anyone else have any follow-up questions or wonderings before I move on? All right, thank you for sharing that information, everyone. That's great to know and great to hear. And we're always asking for feedback and suggestions in hopes of being able to have these moments to stop and think and put in place what the things that we're using now, are they working? Are they on track to produce the desired results? So monitoring those things that we have in place is really important. I think this year we're not quite sure, of course, what was done last year, but I think this year we're more intentional about making sure that we are assessing and monitoring that data to pivot with instruction so that we'll know exactly that we're providing the students what they need. So hopefully we're continuing to do that. The mid-year map will give us a little bit more information as to what other pivots we can make. So right now we're at the September through December point of the timeline for Go Teams. This is our first meeting. We had to reschedule the first one, so we put it back on the calendar and it's already scheduled so that we can make sure that we have what, 3 this semester? 3 meetings this semester, or do we have 4 this semester?
Now
Thought
we
it was
have
3.
4.
I think it's
So hi y'all, this is Diane Jacoby. It is the organizational meeting and then 3 business meetings. And if you all are adding or changing the calendar, the team really needs to take action on it and vote on it. So according to our records, your last meeting, you had to reschedule your last meeting from September. So you need to vote on what the new date for that one is. We have that you have a meeting on December 10th and you have this meeting. So you need to have one additional business meeting sometime this semester. So
yeah, we added it for November.
November
It's
what?
going to be It's going to be on the next slide. Let's see if I can.
Okay,
So before we get to that point, I want to make sure I stay with the presentation, but there is a slide where I revised the meetings and added the updates.
okay, and they'll just take a vote on it when we get there.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So with the leveling from this 15-day count at the beginning of the school year, we were projected to have 227 students. That was our projected enrollment. When the district did the 15-day count around August 22nd, we were only at 206 students. That was a difference of 21 students. And 21 students makes a huge difference. It's almost $6,000 per student when you're talking about a difference of 21 students. Due to the amount of money that would have cost and how that would have impacted our budget, the district did hold us harmless, along with other schools that were in similar situations, so that we would not be depleted of all of our reserves. So the budget adjustment was zero funds. So it did not impact our budget based off of the 21 different student count. The district did hold us harmless for that particular item. However, there was school reserves that were removed from the budget to account for some of the deficit based off of the low enrollment, as well as Title I family engagement funds were removed from the budget to account for the 21 difference in students. Even after that, the amounts that was a deficit was huge, but luckily, we were held harmless for that, so we didn't have to deplete any other funds outside of those items. What you'll see next is the leveling reserve for FY26. I believe this was done previously. So I'm just showing it again to review what was previously set aside for the reserve. It was $65,000 previously with the budget, I believe, in February. The priorities again were aligned to learning time for students, building those teachers' capacities for math and reading. What you'll see next are the strategies aligned with those priorities. And I do believe previously it was requested to have 3 hourly teacher tutors to align to meet that priority of learning time for students. And that amount was $63,000. In order to meet the other priority, the strategy was implement research-based instructional strategies to support all students. The request was aligned to instructional strategies, which accounted for about $2,000. So total $65,000 was what the reserve was for. Title I holdback, you'll see similar priorities as well as strategies. The priorities were again based off of teacher capacity for math and reading and implementing standards-based instruction. The strategies were providing teachers with planning time to prepare and front load strategies and skills, unpacking those standards to support the teachers on the grade levels. The request was for teacher stipends for the amount of $5,000. And then the strategies for standards-based instruction was have teachers participate in PL to increase their mastery of content and pedagogy. And that was a request of professional learning for the amount of $10,000. As a result of the FY26 budget adjustment, we earned a one-on-one special ed para, and we received that transfer from another APS school. There were no other personnel changes, and that special ed para was assigned to one particular student that we currently have. In addition to that, The one-on-one special ed para was assigned to support a student in the K2 AU class. The budget includes 3 hourly paraprofessional positions that were previously allocated to provide tutoring services in reading and math. The 3 hourly para positions remain vacant to date. At the current time, there's one interested candidate being considered for one of the vacancies. However, that candidate has not currently met the GACE assessment. And it's been challenging with these particular hourly para positions. We've gotten very little interest. I've let the staff know many times we've gotten very little interest in these particular positions. They are an hourly part-time position with no benefits. So it has not been very much traction in people showing interest in these positions. There were no budget changes that impact the organizational process of the school. Therefore, it is expected to be little, if any, impact on our strategic plan implementation. Right now, in order to compensate for that 1 hourly para position that the one candidate is trying to take the GACE for, we are currently having the special ed para support in the kindergarten classroom in order to provide the kindergarten teachers some relief, as well as the coaches providing support as well. Okay, so principal highlights for September and October. The attendance was highlighted in the news media. We kind of spoke a little bit about celebrating attendance, and we did have several news media out to Cleveland to highlight those changes that we had and the impact it had within the district, just to kind of make sure that we were highlighted for being on board with supporting the district and those attendance initiatives. That was spearheaded by several of our support team members. I think Ms. White could speak to that, as well as our school social worker. So a lot of attention was given to Cleveland Avenue when it came to attendance, and we're grateful for them coming to support us and highlight us in the news media. That particular event is aligned to us meeting our SIP goal around attendance. We also had a Data and Dine family engagement and curriculum event on September 25th. That particular Data and Dine event brought families out in order to go over the MAP data and ask teachers questions as it relates to their students' progress and performance, have conferences with teachers, and we also fed the families as well. That's aligned to our strategic plan as well. Another event that we had the school-based PL support on deconstructing standards and analyzing data on that PL day on the 13th, which is again aligned to our strategic plan. And we are planning for this Friday a book character day on October 31st, which is a day of literacy activities aligned to priority standards. And that's also aligned to our SIP and our strategic plan. So we're looking forward to continuing to highlight these events and make sure that they're aligned to our strategic plan and both our SIPs, both strategic plan or our SIP, in order to make sure that we're addressing those areas of need. This is the slide that I believe Diane was speaking with as far as the dates that were revised. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the meeting date revisions. So it looks like we may have added a November business meeting, November 13th.
So if a Go Team member could make a motion to accept that new calendar, if that is okay with the team, or you guys can, well, you do need to add a meeting. So the proper parliamentary procedure is to make a motion, second it, and then have discussion. And then once discussion is concluded, you can vote.
I motion to approve the meeting date revision of adding the November 13th date.
This is Dr. Rill, I second.
Is there any discussion?
Is everyone okay with the November 13th date? It's a Thursday this time, and I think we agreed for it to be at 4 o'clock.
Yes, that date works.
Okay.
Yes, it works.
Okay. Do we need to vote?
All right, so all in favor, please say aye, so the secretary
Aye.
can record your vote.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Perfect.
Awesome. So that will be our next meeting. That would also be a meeting open to public comments. So please make sure you note that as well. That would be a meeting open to public comment. The other meeting dates were previously, those have not been changed. We just had the addition of the November date. We are also in need of a parent to support our Go team. We lost a parent, so we have a vacancy right now. So what you'll see is just a recap from the handbook about vacancies. They should be filled no later than 60 days from the departing Go team members' removal or resignation, or on a timeline approved by the Charter System and School Governance Council. Right now, again, we have one parent vacancy. I think I started reaching out to ask if anyone knew of any parents that might be interested in serving on our Go team. I'm still looking for some names. If someone has names, please let me know so I can reach out and try to speak with them and determine if that person is interested, and we can bring it back around in our next Go team meeting and make sure we follow the protocol for voting after I've nominated that person. So I do want to make sure that we spread the word to let our community know that we are in need of a parent to help serve on our Go team. This is always a reminder, and it looks like yesterday, or you may have gotten an email today as it relates to the updates with APS Forward 2040. And with the update email, there is the recommendation that will be sent to the board for November. I encourage you to make sure you follow up on these updates, because that will be the last update, as it is the update that will be recommended for presentation to the board. And the recommendation was for Cleveland Avenue to be repurposed for community good and the students to be falling in line with the adjoining feeder patterns for our current cluster. So please make sure you stay abreast of things moving forward as it relates to the board's approval or not, or any further suggestions as it relates to Cleveland Avenue. But again, the first vote will be November.
I have
Second
a
will be.
quick question.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. This is Ms. Jenkins. Do the updates come to you guys email, or should I just frequently check this website to see if there's an update?
So I got an email, but they're also updating the website as well. So that APS, the Atlanta Public Schools.us/APS 2040 should have the most current information on it as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Are there any questions, follow-up concerns, anything that anybody wants to share? Anything I missed as far as updates?
Dr. Jackson, can I see the G3 Summit slide once more?
Sure. Uh-oh, I stopped sharing it. Okay. Give me a second, White. Give me a second.
No rushing. It's been a day with my technology, so all the grace here.
Let me go back to the left. I think that's at the end. That's the September 27th.
Yeah. Got it. Thank you, Dr. Jackson.
Okay, we have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Dr. Rella, I motion to adjourn.
A second?
I second, and we adjourn the meeting.
Perfect. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay.
All opposed, please raise your hand or say nay. The time is now 4:53 and the meeting is adjourned.
Good night.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
So-
Y'all be safe out there.
Thank you.
Good night.